Hey guys, I'm Alex and I'm the creator of Fayrli. Fayrli is on a mission to close the influencer pay gap. So what is the influencer pay gap? Essentially, the influencer pay gap is the gap that exists between male and female creators and white and non-white creators. There are lots of reasons why influencers are not being paid correctly. Sometimes brands try to negotiate influencers down on price, and essentially that's done to reduce the fee that the influencer charges on a particular post or a particular video. One of the other reasons is down to agencies or talent management taking a larger cut than they're supposed to. And the last factor is all about the influencer. So sometimes influencers undercharge. Now that can either be because they don't fully realise the value that they can offer to brands, or it could be down to the fact that they are inexperienced. So what we do know is that more and more young people want to become influencers. 1 in 5 children in the UK want to become influencers when they grow up, and 86% of young Americans want to become influencers moving forwards. What this means is that essentially over time the market will be flooded, and is flooded, with lots and lots of young people who don't always know what to charge. It was their first brand job and may be unsure of what acceptable looks like. Sometimes brands will take advantage of this and not suggest that they increase their rates to bring them in line with other creators that are being worked with on that particular campaign. The reason why we need an influencer pay gap pledge is because ultimately we believe that action should be to call on brands and agencies to close the gap. We don't believe that the responsibility lies with influencers, because ultimately they're just individual people who don't have the resources or capital to bring about real change on their own. Brands and agencies are the ones who benefit the most from the content that an influencer creates. They're the ones who decide when an influencer gets paid, ultimately at the end of the day. So ultimately we're calling on brands and agencies to do more and do better. We hope to bring around industry change. There are countless occasions where black influencers have explained that they've been paid less than their white counterparts, whether it's for campaigns or fashion shoots. One influencer, Mackay McDermott, was paid 10 times less than her white counterpart for a campaign. 10 times less is obviously crazy. If you think about it, if your white counterpart gets paid £10,000 and you only get £1,000, it's a huge difference. But when you multiply that over a month or over 12 months, you're looking at a gap that's hundreds of thousands of pounds worth in terms of actual money in your back pocket. And that's a huge difference when you think about the fact that a lot of these influencers work full time, have rent to pay, have bills to pay, and have content creation equipment to pay for too. And that's why it's so important to ensure that there's a fair playing field for all influencers. There are lots of factors that come into the equation when it comes to pay. One of the biggest factors are what the brand is willing to pay. It's highly common for an influencer to tell a brand what their rates are and the brand to push back. Not because they don't feel like the stats are valid or because the engagement rate isn't high enough, purely down to the fact they want to maximise their budget. In their mind, it's all about why would we work with 5 creators with this budget when we can get 10 if we negotiate. The other reason is largely down to the influencer. As influencers don't have any sort of real guidance, there are no real benchmarks, and there's no real widely accepted union, it's very difficult to be like, I am an influencer with X followers, X engagement rate, you must pay me this or I will not work with you. It's very much a case of every influencer has a different approach, every influencer speaks to different people in the industry and in their network and gets a price from there. And ultimately that's great if you're able to charge more, you're able to negotiate upwards, but a lot of the time they're negotiating downwards purely because they don't have the power or the pressure to ensure that brands come in fairly. Clear, which is an influencer marketing platform, did 2 studies. Essentially in 2019, the gap was published. In 2020, the gap was also published between male and female influencers, and the gap had actually widened in that time. And that gap looks set to widen as more and more young people get into the industry without having the experience or the expertise to be able to negotiate higher rates and know what to charge.